In this video, I want to show you how to make so much fast money that it feels illegal. So this is for anybody who has a business, who wants to start a business, or if you want to take your business to the next level, this may be the most important video you ever watch when it comes to the acquisition of capital. I'm well suited to tell you how to get a shitload of money because over the last 2 decades, I've made multiple shitloads of money. I built several 8-figure businesses. I'm gonna walk you down the path to how you can replicate that success in your life. The first thing you need to think about when it comes to making money is, what are you gonna sell? There's a few ways to think about this. There's pretty much 4 categories of products or services. They fall on different axes. You have your cheap stuff, right? Your expensive stuff. And you also have stuff that people like need. They have to have it. You got to have it to survive. Need. Then you have stuff that people don't need. They still might want it, but they don't need it. And these are your 4 quadrants. Every product or service fits into one of these 4 quadrants. And there's pros and cons of each quadrant, and we're gonna go over them, right? But you have to pick a product or service that you're gonna sell to people. And I think you should think about these quadrants first. Because a lot of times people, they just want to sell something. They have what they think is a good idea and they just wanna sell it. But you need to understand what quadrant your product or service fits in. And then you need to know why people buy certain things in that quadrant. When it comes to stuff that people don't need, but it's also cheap, these can be classified as trinkets. This is what I like to call them. These are like knickknacks. These are trinkets. These are like, remember people selling those hoverboards back in the day, fidget spinners, bullshit. Type of shit you buy at an airport. Then you have stuff that people need, but it's also cheap, right? These are deodorants, toothpaste, condoms. These are commodities. You gotta have them, but they're not very expensive. Then you have stuff that people need that is expensive. So this is like your homes. Sometimes it's a car, depending on where you live, or a girlfriend, right? These are things that are, you gotta have, but they're expensive, right? And these are necessities. Then you have stuff that's expensive that people don't need. And these are things like fucking Richard Milles, diamond chains, Cartier bracelets, right? These are luxuries, all right? Luxuries. Everything fits in one of these 4 categories. Now we got to look at the psychology behind each of these quadrants. Why the hell would somebody buy something cheap that they don't need? Well, this is usually they're buying on impulse. They're buying on impulse, right? You see an ad for getting some shit that'll stick your phone to a window and you can record yourself and you fucking buy it off TikTok shop. Some hoes going live with some fucking crazy steamer that she can fit in her suitcase and you buy it off TikTok shop or shit like that, right? This is like all drop shipping products. Bullshit, But you might catch a motherfucker when he's lacking on impulse and then he buys this shit, right? Commodities. Why does somebody buy a commodity? What's the part? Well, we already know they need it, but there's something else goes into it. This is typically off price. They're buying it off price. Necessities, something that someone needs and expensive, they're just gonna buy off like their needs. It's in it. Doctors say you need a backiotomy, then you gotta get a backiotomy, bro. What the fuck? Or you just gonna do it. You need a place to live to protect yourself, you and your family from the elements, so you're gonna get yourself a house. You're gonna buy it based off needs. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Why the fuck would somebody buy something expensive that they don't need? Like, what the fuck? Why would a human being behave like that? Well, they do it for status. And status is actually a super powerful driver. It drives a lot of human behavior, right? There's a great book I read a year or 2 ago called The Status Game. And he explained that a lot of human behavior is based off status. Now, if you're somebody who's thinking, man, I don't make decisions based off status, I would never do nothing on status. If you're compelled to say that, especially if you say it all out loud, then that itself is a status game. There's different status games. It's not all flexing. If you're one of the people who's compelled to say, I don't make decisions based off status, and you want to tell people about that, you're playing a different status game. You're saying, oh, I'm better than those people who buy all the bullshit, you know what I'm saying? Or some people, they get status from their kids, right? They send their kids to the best schools and they make their kids, win all the stuff. And that's a form of status because now they seem superior as a parent. Status is a huge driver in human psychology, and there's tons of studies to support this. And basically, if you read any of Dr. David Buss's work on human evolution, he shows that humans have a need, a desire to reach for status in some capacity. Because historically, as far as human history is concerned, humans with the most status had higher likelihoods of passing their genes down and mating with better partners. So it's actually a survival mechanism for the species. Two high status people get together and then they mate. Their offspring has a better chance of surviving and thriving because of their parent status. You see this all the time, right? This is not a new phenomenon. You can trace this all the way back to human history. If you're watching this from England, your fucking king is a direct beneficiary of his parent status and his grandparent status, right? This has happened all throughout human history. If you're in India, I ain't gotta tell you motherfuckers about the caste system. Neema's from Iran, the Middle East, and he had to immigrate here because he did not inherit an oil field like the prince. We have evolutionary need for status, right? So that's how you sell luxuries. This video is about making money fast. So fast that it feels illegal. So what we don't want to do is try to make money based off impulse, right? You can do it, but you have to have a lot of skill. Personally, if we want to make money fast, it's easier to sell expensive stuff, because if you try to sell trinkets, first of all, people don't need it, and it's cheap, right? So they don't need it, and because it's cheap, it has low margins, meaning the profit will be low. So you have to sell a lot of this shit that people don't need. Can you see how that might be difficult? You have to sell a ton of shit that people don't need for it to be profitable. That's going to be difficult. Then let's move over to commodities, stuff that people need. All right, you're on the right track. However, the people make this decision almost 100% based off price. And the problem with when you enter a market where there's a race to the bottom, problem with being in a race to the bottom is that you might fucking win. So the only way to compete in this arena is to keep lowering your price, but then you fuck with your profits, and you have to keep selling more and more and more and more and at lower margins. Now, big companies can do this. Procter & Gamble can sell you deodorant for $2 because they make so much of it that they can get it at scale. They spend billions of dollars on producing it so they can buy it, or they can buy the products and the ingredients and shit for cheap. They're selling so much of it that even though it's low margins, they can still make enough money. Now, necessities, it sounds good. It's expensive and people need it. Well, this is a good market to be in, right? I'm gonna be honest with you. Or you're a doctor and you're selling surgeries, you're gonna do all right. People need a heart surgeon, they're gonna come to you. The problem is you need a tremendous amount of skill to really make money in this arena. Still have to do it at scale. If they're just going off needs, there's a lot of competition in this quadrant. However, luxuries, this is where things get interesting, because now we're not selling what they need. We're not selling off price. We're not selling on impulse. We're selling off status. So what we need to do is find a way to make our products raise the status of the owner in the different ways. Right? So for example, a car is a necessity, but a Lamborghini is a luxury. What's the difference? Well, yeah, a Lamborghini, I guess it's better, but it's like you can't drive top speed like legally, but it's gonna raise your status. That's how they turn a necessity into a luxury. Make sure it raises status. You can do it with commodities too. I have a $200 toothbrush. There was this thing that was happening in the mid 2000s where for some reason all the dentists that were popping up was hiring chicks that looked like bottle girls. They had like bad bitches at the fucking dentist, at least in New York. And you know what I'm saying? They had these fucking Dominican chicks fucking with my teeth, and then they came out and they sold me. It was like 5-6 bad Dominican chicks, man, coming out selling me, saying you should get this, all this shit. And I was like, yeah, it made sense to buy the fucking toothbrush. And you can even make a trinket a luxury if there's like limited supply that is worth more. Do you think about like rare baseball cards or Pokemon cards? I play guitar. This is a guitar pedal called the Klon Centaur, and it used to just be pretty cheap, man, but they stopped making it, right? The guy stopped making it, and now they go for like $5,000-$6,000 for a guitar pedal, which is insane. But the reason we want to sell in this category is because the margins are high. People make decisions based off emotions, and people will do so much for status, man. People will all pay for status. If you don't believe it, there's a reason you're not wearing the fucking cheapest shit in the world. Even if you're not out here flexing on people, the reason you don't have the bullshit, even though it's good, Walmart sneakers, is because you know that's gonna lower your status. This is where we want to be, especially to make money fast. Whatever product or service we have, we need to position it as a luxury item, and that way we'll have higher margins, and it'll be easier to sell because people will do more for status than they will any of these other things. That's just the very first thing you need to do to make more money. Now, the next thing we need to do is define our niche, because we don't want to be all things to everyone. What do I mean by that? So when I think of niche, I think about who you're marketing to, who's your target market, what problem are you going to solve for them, and how you're going to solve that problem. And this is what's going to make you stand out. Because a lot of times people will say something, I'm in a crowded market. But the way you do that, you stand out by having a niche, and this is how you make yourself stand out within a crowded market. So for example, when I first started becoming an online trainer, first thing I made it a luxury, my online training. And this is what I teach my students too. I made it a luxury. Why? Because, well, I can only have so many clients at once, right? I was one of the best, and I wouldn't work with just anybody. Having a niche helped me turn my online training into a luxury, but it also helps you stand out. So think about how many trainers there are online. All trainers, right? There's probably millions. And I don't even want to compete with all these motherfuckers, and you don't have to. This is how you stand out. So when I first started my online training, I said, I'm only going to focus on men, pause, no Diddy. And then not all men, young men, no Drizzy. Men age, it was around, at the time, it was probably like 20 to 30 is when I first started. So let's think about this, right? Already I'm not competing with all trainers, right? Because I'm only focusing on men. Already I'm standing out a little bit, right? But it's not even all men. It's only young men, right? So that's like a smaller segment of this population, right? So now I'm already standing out. Now check this out. What problem did I want to solve for them? Now remember, business is all problem solving. I focused on helping young men get ripped, and I use their language. I know as a trainer that getting ripped means they want to be muscular with low body fat. I was excluding, remember, the way you make something premium is you have exclusivity, right? So that means you actually have to exclude people, right? I was excluding most humans. And then even within that group, a small group of humans that were left, it was only people who had this goal. I didn't train. I wasn't helping anybody with every goal. I wasn't focused on people who was marketing to people who were obese. I wasn't marketing people who need to lose 100 pounds, men who wanted to be fucking pro athletes. I wasn't marketing to people who wanted to live longer or even be healthy, right? It was one goal: get ripped. Now, why is that important? Because you got to think, why does this motherfucker want to get ripped? Can you guess why a young man wants to get ripped? Girls. 100%. So cool. Now I know his why. So all my marketing revolved around showing men, young men, that if they get ripped, they'll get girls. And what does that do for them, right? Yeah, they get girls, but it also what? Improves their status. If you see a guy with a hot girlfriend, or if you say, oh, this guy gets a lot of girls, a young guy, it probably raises his status. One of my primary lead acquisition channels was YouTube back then. You guys familiar with YouTube? If I go to Otis, it was good. You see, I'm getting ripped. Boom, getting ripped. But when I started to figure out, let's go to popular, the ones I got, it's like girls, right? Boom, they ain't getting ripped. You feel me? Girls, all this shit, right? These old ass videos, you know? And that was my focus. Even in like this video, my video with the most views, 10 million views, there's a girl in there. Even though I wasn't marketing the girls, that was for y'all. Or this one right here. I don't know, maybe let's go this one. There's a girl in there, right? It wasn't for girls. I wasn't trying to get girls. It was for y'all. So it's like a subconscious marketing. The same way you might see a perfume ad or a cologne ad, and it's a guy looking cool with some chicks around him or something. It's the same kind of concept. So then I said, how am I going to get ripped? So back in the days, it was intermittent fasting and HIIT cardio. That was one of my methods. Like initially, when I very first started, intermittent fasting and HIIT cardio. Now think about this. How many trainers are there who are focused on helping men, young men, get ripped with intermittent fasting and HIIT cardio? Back in the days, it was almost none. And then as I got older, I changed my methods and I changed my target market. I changed it to it went up a little bit as I got older, 25 to 35. I kept the same shit, but it changed to keto when I went keto and bodybuilding, like bodybuilding style training with the keto diet. How many keto bodybuilders are there? Almost none. So who am I competing with, right? This is how you stand out. Not only did I make it a luxury, right? Because I'm not working with everybody. I'm only focused on a certain amount of person. It also, this is how I was able to stand out by narrowing my market. Because when a man aged 25 to 35 who wanted to get ripped and wanted to get ripped for girls, and he wanted to do it with keto and bodybuilding, who else was he gonna go to at the time? He couldn't price shop because there wasn't no one else, right? So I can actually charge more. I can charge a premium. It was exclusive and it's scarcity because I can only work with so many people. Then boom, I turned what's more of a commodity, personal training, into a luxury. If you want to learn more about this, I got a free ebook called The 10 Commandments of Online Training. It'll show you how to grow your online business if that's something you're into. The link is in the description, right? It's free and it'll give you a lot of game. This will work for any industry. When I met my videographer, Nima, wasn't just doing video editing for anyone. He was doing video editing for business owners in Miami. That was me. I heard that. Oh, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I wasn't looking for any old video. I was looking for him exactly. And I didn't fucking haggle with him. I said, oh, that's you. You're good. Let's go. We've been working together for 3 years, right? That's how you stand out. Some people may think, man, especially trainers that say shit like, man, I can train anyone. You can train anyone, but you can't market to anyone. For example, there's a deodorant called Secret deodorant. Balanced minerals, ultra clear, blah, 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 blah. You can look at the font, you can look at all this other shit. Then there's another deodorant called Old Spice. Now, if you just look at it, look at this, and then look at this. Which one do you think is for women, and which one do you think is for men? Right? I'm gonna give you a hint. It's the one with a fucking bear biting into the name. That one's probably for men. These are made by the same fucking company, Procter & Gamble, but they know that they can't make a deodorant that markets to men and women because nobody would give a fuck about it. And they know they had to create a whole different brand for women and a whole different brand for men, even though men's and women's armpits are largely similar. There was also a supplement line that came out years ago, and it was called Women's Best. And Women's Best, they had supplements, right? What's the difference between women creatine and men creatine? Fucking nothing. But you can't market the shit. The marketing is different. For men's creatine, you're not gonna pick this color. You're not gonna pick this name. Your advertisements are gonna be different. You're probably gonna have a ripped guy drinking this shit. But women's creatine and men creatine is the same. Creatine monohydrate is the same. There is no difference. They were able to build a multi-million-dollar brand by taking the same shit and just marketing it to women. That's how they stood out in a super crowded, competitive industry, which is the supplement company, because they only market it to women. So you got to find your target market. All right, it's difficult to market to everything to everyone. If you do that, then you commoditize yourself. McDonald's, they market to everyone. It's a commodity. Coca-Cola, they'll market to everyone in every demographic. Luxury items do not market to everyone. They become exclusive. It's very important. And this is very important that you only sell to why. People do not buy features. So you got to understand the difference between features and benefits. A feature of this liquid death water is that it's in a fucking can. The benefit is it stays colder. It has a better taste because it's not in plastic, and I won't get as many microplastics in me. Those are the benefits. But the features is fucking spring water in a can. What a mistake a lot of marketers make is they try to sell the fucking features, but people don't buy features, they buy benefits. For example, this iPad that I'm drawing on right here, the benchmarks, the CPU, the GPU, all this other shit inside of it. Listen, man, what's it gonna do for me? Not all the features that it has. What the fuck is it gonna do for me? And I think a big mistake I see a lot of rookie marketers make is they focus on the features, but people don't give a fuck about the features. They only care about the benefits. And the benefits have to relate to their why. All your marketing is going to be built around their why. Now, the next thing you need to do is figure out what your sales mechanism is going to be. What I mean by that is how exactly are you going to get clients? When I was in business school, taught us something called the customer journey. Then there's a lot of different ways you can get a customer to the sale. So when I first started my online training business, this was the customer journey. Social media, boom, and then DMs, boom, and that's how I made the sale. That's one customer journey. When I had my supplement line, what we did was initially it was social media, and it went straight to the website, which is a Shopify site at the time, boom, and then they would buy from there. So I seen some people who don't use social media all the time at all. They go ads. You can go ads straight to your website, boom, sales, or ads to sales call, or boom, and then make the sale. So there's a lot of different paths that the customer can take. These are different journeys, customer journeys, right? Pick the one that you feel like is going to work the best for you. I've seen people start with their business. They just started with ads straight to a website, boom, sales. I've seen people do ads straight to sales call, sales. I've also seen ads, boom, to what's called a lead magnet. You give them something for free, right? Boom, then they're on their email list. And then from there, maybe you can go to a sales call, and then you make the sale. Try different things to find the customer journey that's going to work best for you. But the mechanism, how you sell your product or service is going to depend a little bit on the price. There's different things depending on what you're selling, right? So you could just have website, or you could take it to sales call, might be Zoom or on the phone. You can do live event. These is like a live event in person or a webinar. These are different sales mechanisms. Or one-on-one sales. one-on-one in person, right? Now, typically, the more expensive something is, the higher you have to go up. So cheap shit, let's call it $1 to 1,000. Now 1,000 is like the top end for this shit. Cause how often have you just clicked on a link, went to a website and spent $1,000? It happens sometimes, but it's it depends. 1 to 10, let's call it 1 to 10K. All right, boom. That's typically sales call. 10K to 25K. Typically, this happens at live events. One-on-one, like you might have to travel to the motherfucker, like 25K and up. These are just like round estimates. It can all change depending on what? Your credibility. Credibility changes this. So the more credibility you have in the marketplace, the more you can charge at a lower level of the pyramid. For example, if The Rock announced today, right, he has millions of followers and he said, boom, yo, I'm gonna do online training, 25K for 6 months, hit the link in my bio. He could sell that. The Rock could sell it because he has way more credibility than that. And guess what? Well, we talked about earlier, if The Rock is your trainer, it raises your status. Who has more status? The guy says, oh man, my trainer is just some fucking guy from Crunch. Or someone says, yo, my trainer is The Rock. Right? Who has more status, and people will pay for more status. We talked about that earlier. So depending on what your credibility, how much credibility you have, and the credibility depends on how far up the scale you can go, right? So credibility changes. This is average. The Rock got so much credibility. This motherfucker launched the shampoo. He ain't even got hair. This motherfucker, he had the nerve to put himself in the ad for shampoo. What the fuck? It's amazing. The only hair he got is eyebrows. This is astonishing. Like if you got, I'm telling you, credibility changes the whole game. Let's assume you have very little credibility, right? And people to your website, but you still got to figure out what the customer journey is going to be, right? Are you going to run ads? You're going to have social media presence. You're going to ads to a lead magnet and sell them on your email, warm them up. You got to figure out what the customer journey and the sales mechanism. Once you have that mastered, go all in on it. Go all in. You only need one sales mechanism to get to $1 million a year, right? You only need one sales mechanism. $1 million a year, that's like, okay, man, you in the game. Like you really in the game. You really doing this shit. Now, it's still a big accomplishment. I don't want to minimize it, right? But it's just a start. Like you in the game, you're making $1 million a year, you in the game now. But it's still just the beginning, right? But I don't want to minimize it because only 5% of businesses get to $1 million a year. But now you want to scale to multi-millions. What we have to do is we have to understand the scaling formula. I made that up just right before I said it. Formula. All it is cost of acquisition, CAC, like how much it costs for you to acquire a customer versus lifetime value. How much a customer is worth over the lifetime of their interaction with you and your business, right? So sometimes it's called CAC, right? Cost to acquire a customer, or versus lifetime value. This is the whole game. If you ever watch Shark Tank, they always ask when they're interested, how much does it cost you to acquire a customer? What's your cost of acquisition? You got to figure that out. And if you're doing all social media, maybe it's free, right? But it's difficult to get to over $1 million a year without implementing some ads at some point, right? So you figure out how much it costs you to acquire a customer, and then you find out how much the average customer spends with you during the lifetime of them being with the lifetime of their interaction with the business, right? And the key is we want to lower cost of acquisition and we want to increase lifetime value. Lowering cost of acquisition, this comes from, basically split testing ads, web pages, websites, landing pages, ad copy, and improving offer. Like the more you can improve your offer, or even you might want to split test sales mechanisms, different sales mechanisms. You have to start testing. Is it more profitable to go straight from the ad to the website, or is it more profitable to go for the ad to a sales call, or is it more profitable to go add to a lead magnet, get them on your email list, warm them up, and then sell them? You're gonna have to split. You're gonna start testing these things, right? If you're not testing, you're guessing. One of these little things can dramatically decrease your cost of acquisition. And for increasing lifetime value, there's a few things you can do. One, you can sell more things to existing customers. These are called upsells, right? Like if you go to McDonald's and you ask just for the burger, they say, would you want the meal? Right? She's not doing that because she's trying to help you. Like she's trained to do that to increase your average order value. Sell more to people. These are upsells, right? You can do cross sales. So a cross sale is something like let's say Nima, he's a video editor, right? And he's working with somebody, a business owner, and helping him make videos, right? But his homie is a copywriter. He can refer him to someone else. He can refer him to his copywriter, and maybe he can get a commission off of that. Now he's double dipping in the customer. You can also increase purchase frequency, especially if you have something consumable. You can offer, discounts for them to buy more frequently. And these are a few of the things you can do to make more money off each customer, right? And this increases your lifetime value, which makes your ads more profitable. It makes all your marketing more profitable because now you're making more money off of each customer, right? And if you lower the cost of acquisition, then that equals profit, right? One thing you can do that's really helpful is increase the speed of purchase. The faster you can increase the lifetime value, the more money you can make. So hopefully I can articulate this right. Let's say the LTV of a customer is $10,000, right? And the cost of acquisition costs you $5,000 to get a new customer. I'm using simple math, $5,000. This makes this $5,000 profit. But what if it takes you fucking 10 years? What if it takes you 10 years to realize it's $10,000, right? But you have to pay this up front. Now you're in the red. You get what I'm saying? Now you're in the red. But if you can increase the speed that you get to this $10,000, you can be more profitable sooner. It's something I call, I never heard anyone say this, but I call this income velocity. And I think about this all the time. This is something I think it's not just about how much money you make, it's how fast you can make the money and what time frame you take to make the money. The higher the income velocity, the more profitable you can be. Because you got to remember, just think about your own life. You got bills every month, phone bill, rent or mortgage, electricity that you got to pay every month. You got bills every month. And if you want to be profitable, you have to outpace the bills every month, right? You have to make more money than you're spending every month for each month to be profitable. If somebody said, oh, I made $1 million, right? If they did it in a month, that's fucking amazing. If it took them 10 years, that's fucking regular. That's nothing. So the velocity really matters, right? So we want to increase the velocity of the lifetime value, right? Because 10 years might not be enough. However, the longer you can wait till you need to get paid, the more money you can make. This is something that was taught to me by one of my mentors. Let's say you run ads. You run ads, you spend a lot of money to get a customer, and it's $5,000 to be a customer. The sooner you need to make this money back, the more danger you're in as an entrepreneur. If you got a big of a money surplus where you don't need to make that money back for a year, then you can just keep spending money for a year as long as you know you're going to make it. These are just things you have to think about. You have to think about not needing it right away, but you also need to think about increasing the velocity so you'll be more profitable sooner, because then you can keep flipping the money. If we take this from 10 years to 1 year, boom, then we can flip this money every year. But if we can only flip it every 10 years, we'll probably go out of business unless we have a huge surplus of money, right? So you want to really increase the velocity of the income. And the main way to do that is it's the same stuff we talked about with increasing the customer value. But as soon as you get a customer, you need to have upsells and cross sales ready. This is at the $1 million mark. And you need to have a mechanism to increase the frequency, like immediately. As soon as you get a customer, you need to think of other shit, right? If you're an online trainer, maybe you get yourself a motherfucking affiliate code with a supplement line, right? That's what I did. I had affiliate codes with supplement lines when I first started. Boom. And I'll say, yo, man, all right, here's your workout plan, bro. You need these supplements too, right? I'm immediately trying to increase the lifetime value. And that's why I started my supplement line when I was an online trainer, right? Because I needed to really increase that lifetime value. So I was even more profitable. So my whole supplement line initially was just to have something to sell to my existing clients. But first it was cross sales with other shit, and then I made my own products, and then it was upsells, and then you got to figure out ways to increase the frequency too. This is why companies will give you discounts if you buy more of the shit, because they want to increase the income velocity, because they want to be profitable sooner so they can keep flipping the money. If you can implement all these tactics, and you can make money, you can start making money super fast. I know I probably threw a lot out at you, but this might be a video you have to watch again. Listen, if you want to learn how to start your online fitness business, I've taught over 15,000 people how to grow online fitness businesses successful. If you want to learn more about that, I got a free ebook called The 10 Commandments of Online Training. The link is in the description. It'll show you how to grow your online fitness business, even if you don't have a big following, even if you're not certified, even if you don't have a lot of experience. It gives you the game plan on how to do it. It's free. The link is in the description. All right.